Thank you very much for inviting me, Natasha. It's my first time speaking at a conference in London. I am coming from Amsterdam, where Booking.com headquarters is. And I'm here to share some ideas, experiences we had, and maybe exchange some with you about the gender gap, diversity and inclusion. It's a big topic at the moment, so I think it's really important for all of us to create more awareness about it. You hear so much about it, but then when people talk about diversity, it's kind of hard to pinpoint it. What does it actually mean? What does it count for? And I decided to choose this definition from McKinsey because they do a lot of research in diversity in the workplace, especially in the Western world, let's say so. And they define it as such. Diversity means demographics that are underrepresented in tech and overly predictive of career and educational success. Seems fair. This includes, but is not limited to, race, ethnicity, age, gender, sexual orientation, disability, and so on. So you take this and you give it to somebody and they understand, it's great. But when I was cutting it into pieces, I realized all these things are things that we cannot control about ourselves. None of this. But they are things that definitely influence the way we experience the world, and definitely influence the way the world interacts with us. So we cannot remove this from the conversation of workplace, reward, growth, education, at all. But it's not only about the pay gap. This is a serious issue, and I was proud to see a very interesting article last week about an Australian manufacturing company who looked at their whole population of employees and saw, yes, we actually do have a gender gap. How do we fix it? Well, we just pay equally. So it was easy. If people are actually serious about it, it's easy to fix. But it's also about growth, equal opportunities, promotions. The last McKinsey research of last year, workplace, says that women get 20% less promoted than men. No basis. So it's problematic when you start to get into the nitty-gritty details. Where do you start? It's not my fault. It's not my cousin's fault. It's just a system design flaw. And we need to approach it together. What the gender gap is not. And this is, I think, very important to take away, and it helped me a lot in my conversations with my peers, or my managers, or my parents. It is not a war men versus women. We're all in this together. We probably all have families. We probably all have friends from both genders. We all want the best for everybody. It's simple. It's also not just a women's issue. It's institutions, governments, corporations, companies like mine and yours. And it's not something that it will fix itself. So we all need to work a bit for it. Why do we care about this now? I think one of the things I heard in the past 2-3 years were like, why do we need to talk about it? Why is this becoming important now? Why? We have other stuff to do. I'm like, great, of course we do. Everybody does. It kind of all started in 2013 with people who are in tech and maybe a bit closer to the topic. Tracy Chu was a software engineer at Pinterest, and she put this kind of random article on Medium saying, where are the numbers? And then everybody started creating this massive spreadsheet with all the companies putting in, we have this amount of people, this amount of men, and this amount of women. And then it all started, and it cascaded. And I think with every social revolution, there is a momentum. And we cannot allow ourselves to lose the momentum. It is the time when the conversation is happening. We just kind of need to go in it. I work in technology. For the past 10 years, I've worked in recruitment technology. I'm now with Booking. I've been with Facebook before. We've faced these situations over and over again. And there are a couple of things researched about how lack of diversity affects technology, but it kind of applies to everything. We're losing talent. European Commission says that by 2030, we will not be able to fill around 800,000 tech jobs. This is problematic for us recruiters. I don't want to get into that situation. It's hard enough now. But we don't have enough people going into universities. We don't have enough people going into boot camps. And definitely we do not have enough women. We have a 50-50 global population. Why can't we have this in all environments? More and more VCs and investment companies are looking at how your board or your teams are being constructed. You don't have diversity on your board, then you're losing 15% of the revenue that you could make. This is what Harvard research says. If you have a diverse board, you will be more profitable. It's a business in the end, but investors really care about that. What I care more, I would say, from my perspective, and I think from everybody's day-to-day experience, bad tech is really bad. There are some early examples, let's say so, when teams of engineers build voice recognition devices. They did not test it with women, but their target audience, the people that they were selling them to, were secretarial teams, which were mainly women. The technology failed miserably. That's kind of a funny example. Maybe another one would be, there's a historian from Stanford. She went for a conference in Madrid. Then she went back home and started reading these reviews about her talk in Madrid on Google Translate from Spanish to English. All the she's were transformed in he. We believe that machines are objective, unbiased. We trust that, and we want to trust that, because we want that taken away from us. But machines are built by humans, and that's a biased algorithm. There are also dramatic examples. When people started building airbags, most of the teams were made of men, and they made the airbags for, let's say, average male weight and height. In real life, women and children got hurt at first deployments. We don't want to go there. I think we have this vast capacity to integrate diversity into our teams and into the way we build products, that we cannot miss it. Not all is bad, and this is where I want to, if you are to leave with something today, is mainly this. Changing the ratio is not the problem. Changing the ratio is the solution. Do you want better products? Have diversity on your team. Do you want bigger investment? Have diversity on your teams. Do you want more talent? Invest more in education for women. So we started doing these things at Booking because we realized, hey, we're not doing great either, like any other tech company, to be honest. So we started looking into how can we fix some things. And what I can tell you is definitely if you want to advise your stakeholders, if you want to change some stuff in your organization, first look at the organization. How big are you? How diverse your current audience is? How diverse your customers are? Where do you want to go with this? We started looking at everything, and we were like, hey, we have a problem, but nobody would believe us. We went to managers. Hey, we need to do some things. Nobody believed anything till we looked at the data. Nitty-gritty data. It's difficult, it's hard, it's time-consuming. You don't know what's going to come out. It's a Pandora box. But check the data. What was also important once we got the data is to actually connect the dots. As everybody today spoke about some stuff in the business, we have employer branding, we have recruitment marketing, we have performance evaluations. Understand where do all those fit in, and how do you facilitate that all these areas actually give you something to foster an inclusive environment. Go back to the drawing board. For us, it was very important to understand, hey, we actually have this list of 20 things that we could do. What's the most important thing that it will give us results now, and how can we prioritize through that? So I'll walk you a bit through, well, and what doesn't get measured doesn't get done, so it's very easy. We'll talk about that a bit. So Booking story a little bit for tech is in 2016 when I joined, we hired around 600 people for technology department. 15% of them were women. Not good. I think everybody can agree. We started digging in the data, but we also started asking ourselves, what can we do in recruitment? We are the forefront of the business. We are the ones who are responsible for bringing the right talent in. So we asked ourselves, what really stops us? We didn't really know. but it was a good critique. It was a good moment to realize how much can we do. And also we started looking a bit more internally. Where are the women and how are they distributed in each type of roles? What category of seniority? How can we engage with them more and really connect with the community? We made a plan based on that, and it was quite good that we had one because we had some stuff to actually measure against and be objectives with ourselves. Are we doing the right things for the right reasons? So our plan was to really increase the upper funnel. You cannot increase the upper funnel if you don't invest more in sourcing, if you don't invest more in recruitment marketing, if you don't invest more in tapping into communities that you've never tapped in before. So we did that in a couple of ways. Some things are okay if you have some budgets, but some things are very easy to do if you don't have any budget at all, to be honest. Most of it was really engage with the community. There are so many associations in each country, especially in the UK actually, for women in tech. And they are more than happy to connect with any brand that is willing to invest more, even in the image perspective, not financially. But we also did some very specific things. We made a couple of events. Some of them were hackathons. Specifically for women, we had our first edition, all-women hackathon. We have hackathons every year, a couple of them a year. We only have, organically, around 15% women coming at them, or making it because there is a selection process. And there's always this, well, there are not enough. I don't think it works. When we did it all for women, we had 50 women coming from all over the world from 20 different countries. And we had our most hires from one event only. We did workshop sessions in areas that we know might benefit from young ages. 7 years old, we associated ourselves with organizations like I Am the Code, which actually has a presence in London as well, and worked with them, got our engineers in different regions and do workshop boot camps and so on. It was really beneficial to also engage with our own engineering community and understand a little bit more how can they contribute. We took all this, but we also put it into sourcing. We have a very big team of sourcers, so that's useful, but we never really put targets. I think from Schneider earlier we're saying we have an aspiration. It's hard to put goals on something so hard already. So we just wanted to inspire everybody to contribute. We had sourcing parties of a couple of different, like 2 days in a row, just sourcing for specific communities in the world, and that really paid off. Where we are today, 1 year later, you remember we were saying 16% for hires for women in 2016. We ended up with 25% for 2017, and we hired around 1,000 people. It was not easy, and it's not as it should be, but it's progress. And I think everybody should kind of give themselves a bit of a pat on the back, even for the 1 or 2% that they change, but they shouldn't stop there. We really need to take a very clear look at ourselves. Are we doing things to actually include everybody? For 2018, it was clear that it's just the beginning, so we just need to do it all over again, and even more, and even better, and really focus on role models. From all the techniques and all the practices that you might see out there, apparently at the moment, because research always changes, having role models really pushing your environment for more diversity and inclusion helps the most. But we really want to give back to the community. We really want to engage with everybody, even corporations or communities that really help children. It is known that for tech especially, we need to start like in sports, 7 years old, if we want to have the community at the end of the road. So I hope some of these things are going to help and inspire you too, to really understand what we can do more for women in tech, but I would say diversity and inclusion in general for a more balanced environment. Thank you.